Hello and welcome to a big edition of Layback with Betfair. Nick Foot is my name, back in the chair, looking forward to previewing Moving Day in the Spring Racing Carnival. We've got the Group 1 Turnbull Stakes at Flemington, and we've got 3 Group 1s at Royal Randwick for Epsom Day. The two men that are going to help me dissect these exceptional cards of racing is Trent Crebbin, who's back for another week, and of course the Baron of Betfair, Tommy Haylock himself. Krebs, welcome back for week 2.
Yeah, semi-surprised to have gotten the call up, to be honest, after some big opinions went amiss last week. We won't talk about those. Maybe we will a little bit later, but
I'll talk about it.
Yeah, you'll talk about it and I'll ignore you, but that's all right. Happy to be back and happy to welcome you back as well, Footy.
Yeah, cheers, mate. It's certainly good to be back. And look, I didn't see much of last week, but perhaps one lay was the only clip that I saw. And, you know, we've all been there. Like, mate, you're in good company with me with some gutsy lays, and I'm sure there's plenty more to come. Tommy, or Functions Haylock as you're most commonly known.
Don't give me that.
There's a lot going on at this time of year, and you are knees deep in all of it.
Oh, I'm seeing most of them, to be fair, Footy. No, good to be back. It's moving day, as you said. Redemption day for Trent after last week, but we've got plenty of lay-bins, plenty of good racing to dissect. Can't wait to get stuck into it, mate.
Who needs enemies when you've got panel friends
like
us here,
Exactly.
Well, let's get stuck into the lay-bin because there's a chance for the great man Krebs to perhaps just get some things off his chest and get relaxed and get into the show. And we'll kick off with you, Trent. What do you got for us?
Yeah, just the programming in Sydney. It's becoming a bit annoying, and we get it's been annoying for quite a while. What racing fans want to see is fast horses racing against each other. We saw it at the Valley last week with Pride of Jenny and Mr. Brightside. You're on track there, and it was electric.
Absolutely brilliant.
But this week we've got the Epsom handicap, and it's probably not the strongest field that's been assembled. And next week we've got a $1.5 million listed race for over 1,400 metres for plenty of the same horses. So yeah, cut away some of the fat off these races, and we'll get the good horses against each other, and the people will come.
$1.5 million Alan Brown. Sounds good, doesn't it?
Time honoured.
Yep. Stuff the Epsom. Let's put some money into the Alan Brown.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you got anything for us for the lay-bin this week?
Plethora.
Yeah. Get the old iPhone notes. Gets a bit of a battering around this time of year from Tommy Haylock.
So Reece Goodwin's was meant to be here today.
Yeah.
He said he's got a filly trialling. Got permission to trial Thursday morning in a Group 1 place and Group 1 placed and winning a trial. This horse wasn't a Group 1 placed or hasn't won a Group 1, but got the permission from the club. Someone called up and complained and said this horse shouldn't be trialling, and so they've had to scratch it.
Oh no!
So whoever called up and scratched this horse, find something else to do with your time. What a way! Like,
what have you got going on in your life to just suck the fun from others?
Dissect the trial fields, the jump out fields at Caulfield, and say, no, hang on, this horse hasn't played Group 1 place. Let's call up the club and get this raised. Find something better.
Must have been all that prize money available in the trial that they must have been upset at, Tommy.
Yeah, that horse probably win the Alan Brown now.
Yeah.
Go trial it at Randwick next week anyway. Plenty more. You're in the lay-bin, just the work in the room, the head wobble on the RV function during the week. More functions than anyone at the moment, Footy.
It's the first racing function I've ever been invited to, actually, on Tuesday night. So
carrying a Sharpie, walking around, photos with everyone.
Probably carrying his whistle on his fingers as well, just calling people out.
It's a bit. Well, Dick Dacos was there. He was about to give him a free kick at one stage.
I was very relaxed.
It was good
Tuesday
to see
night. Oh, it was good to get invited to something, Tom. So I was, if you don't start taking up these invites, you won't get invited. So I was better go. So it was a very good night, actually. The spring celebration Racing Victoria put on.
Yeah. Can I go one more?
Cool, mate.
I woke up this morning, there was a field of 20s, 16 scratchings at Kimber.
I saw you tweet that. And what I liked about your tweet as well is you just let the picture do the talking.
Yeah, I didn't have to say anything.
You didn't add any words. You didn't want Mitch Beer back in the back having a feud with your good self. So I did like what you did with that. You just let the picture do the talking. You didn't have an opinion. You just posted it. It was well put across.
Some WSPs were 154-cent deductions.
Yep.
On that market. So you actually owe them if you've had a bet.
Yep. I've got one thing for the lay-bin this week, and it's Punters Club responsibility. So it's been a big couple of weeks, a lot of responsibility I've had on the past couple of Saturdays, none bigger than this Saturday, Turnbull Stakes Day. I've got a Bucks Day, 20 blokes, and they like racing, but they're not completely won over by racing. So I'm going to be obviously heading up the Punters Club. It's a big responsibility. And a lot of people outside of racing probably don't understand the strike rate that you have, and there'll be an expectation that you win every race. And regardless of how the day unfolds, it's going to be a day of being under the pump. So I'm not sure how I feel about that responsibility with 20 blokes that, let's face it, by 5:40 when the last race rolls around, they're going to be quite vocal. So fingers crossed I can get the job done this Saturday, guys. There's a bit of performance anxiety setting in already on the Thursday, but plenty of people out there, I reckon, know how that feels. Let's get into that card too, because of that, it's been a nice segue because I've put a lot of time into Flemington coming up on Saturday.
Good.
What's track conditions looking like? There is a little bit of precipitation around Friday, Saturday, Tommy. Flemington, we know, is a terrific track when it comes to drainage, but hopefully we get racing in that good to soft range.
Yeah, I don't think the track's drying as well. I don't know what your take is, as it did 4 or 5 years ago. We saw in like 2018, I think it was, Cup Day.
The cross counter era, it was
torrential rain, it flooded, and you're back on a good 4 by the end of the day. It's not at those levels. We saw the last meeting there, or a couple of meetings, pretty heavy track, so it's not drying as well. I think the sting will be out. I think it'll race well. Interesting, the rail in 9 metres, Trent, which is back from 14 when we last saw it on the Derby Day, Oaks Day trials there. So the rail's still out, but the track should be okay.
Yeah, I'm setting up for pretty fair. I think we'll probably be in that kind of soft 5-ish range, bit of juice in, but all the jockeys say even a soft track at Flemington is just pretty good. It's good going.
Yeah, I'm hoping with some of the bets I'm having, soft 5s is worse for getting throughout the day, even if that rain comes. Well, let's kick off in race 4, which is the Group 2 Edward Manifold Stakes. It's for the 3-year-old fillies, and it's been a good form reference for the VRC Oaks. Dozy won the race last year before a second in the Wakeful, and obviously going on to win that VRC Oaks. Do we have another Zardozy in this field? What do we make of the strength of the Edward Manifold, and what sort of way are we going to be siding here, boys? I'll start with you, Trent.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. I'm not sure if there's a kind of horse like Zardozy, but I feel from memory, Zardozy really exploded in this race. She took a couple of runs to get going and then really hit her straps when she started getting.
She wasn't a short price favourite here.
No, I think she was double figures off an unlucky run at Sandown or something like that. But this race is probably the B grade of the fillies. You know, you've got the top ones like Autumn Glow in Sydney, who we'll touch on a little bit later. But I think the market's kind of got it fairly spot on. Delici Boulevard, I think, is comfortably the horse to beat. Was really good behind Lilac last start, hitting the line strongly at Caulfield. That race is rated pretty well at Racing Sport. She put up a good number there, and the section will say that she was finishing all over the top of them there. So I think she's clearly the horse to beat. You know, she's around that 260 mark. That's probably about right. I'm not really looking to get too involved with that price, but I wouldn't knock you if you were.
Tommy, according to this run sheet, you're going an early hamburgers. So you might be keen to sort of get involved here.
Everyone needs a hamburger, mate.
Those sliders were good at the function on Tuesday.
They were, weren't they? I saw you.
I was looking at Tommy. He was a back and lay everywhere he went.
I'm against Trent here. I don't like the favourite at all, really. I thought that race last start was pretty weak. And you go back, came off a benchmark 64 at Warwick Farm before that, and then came out and ran so well. I think there's better New South Wales form coming into this. You've got Wings of Desire, who I don't love as a horse, but it was pretty good last start. Comes off a stronger Sydney race than Delici Boulevard did when it was first up, fresh in Melbourne at Caulfield. So I think that's better form. And then I really like the setup of number 8, Killcare Beach Girl. Nice barrier here. Looked on the canvas last start. Winner came off the fence, pushed her. She looked like she tailed right off after that. Got a bump, and typical stable just kept finding. And I love the step up to 1,600 metres, rolls to the front. She contested a 2-year-old mile race. Again, she looked like she'd weaken out, but she kept finding there. I think she'll get the 1,600 metres. She'll be in this for a long way. She'll lead, control the race with Waterhouse, John McNeil on board. And I think she's a great each way play. So she's my play in the race. And I could lay the favourite too short for me.
Yep. I'm siding with the Jim Maloney Stakes form, which is the Delici Boulevard form, but I'm going something a little bit wider. Jenny's Meadow in the double figure range. Look, she was first up and she was well beaten. However, back towards the inside, the inferior going on that day. She's going to improve second up. She's 1 from 1, track and trip. And I feel if she repeats her performance from that win in the Taj Rossi Series final, and I know it's winter form, she runs that similar figure in a race like this, she can certainly be in the finish. So Jenny's Meadow is a little each-way play for me in the 3-year-old fillies there, the Edward Manifold in race number 4. Let's kick on now to race 5. It's the Group 2 Danehill Stakes for the 3-year-olds up the Ididdle 1,100 metres. Stretton Angel won this race last year, one of ours, Tommy. Giga Kick in 2022 and Kalos in 2021. This is a cracking edition, I think, of the Danehill Stakes. How are you seeing this, Trent?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? You've got that kind of growing empire form through First Settler, who was very good, tasted defeat for the first time in the Poseidon, and then you've got a horse like Reserve Bank, who's done absolutely nothing wrong and looks very smart, up against sort of that last season 2-year-old form in the likes of Bodyguard, Tough Hall, and looking to bounce back. So it'll just be kind of who's made that next step as a 3-year-old and who can kind of go on with it this time in.
How do you line up, Tommy, when you look at a horse like Reserve Bank, who's just on this upward spiral, the fresh runner on the scene, and then you've got a runner like Anisa, who's shown such signs of brilliance last preparation?
Yeah, trials have got to come into it. It's a really big... you find some edges, actually, with 2-year-olds that have regressed or gone to another level off the trials, and you can see that. So you've got to put in the work and watch a lot of the trials. It is hard to line up. You've seen some of these 2-year-olds step out as 3-year-olds, and the form has been okay. So you've got some guide, but each horse is different. They all develop at different rates. So, it can be tricky.
So you guys aren't having a bet in this race, aren't you?
I'm more against Reserve Bank than with Reserve Bank.
Yeah.
I don't know what you guys think. Scary horse, undefeated obviously from 2 runs, but comes off 2 absolute walking races at 1,000 metres. Now, up to 1,100 metres, down the straight, a lot of speed on. I know they don't go overly hard down the straight too much, but just a completely different setup. So more against Reserve Bank than I am with Reserve Bank. The stablemate First Settler, I think, has got more appeal. You've got Bodyguard, you've got Anisa. If I'm playing now, it's probably laying Reserve Bank.
Yep. I'm backing Bodyguard. I love the trial. I know you're a bit of a trial perv, Tommy, but that
a lot of intent in that trial.
Yeah, there was 6 lengths, put a space on them, and I know this was back towards his first start, but proven straight track performer, so ticks that box. When he won that Maribel trial, that was actually on this day last year. Drawn out, great jockey booking, Mark Zara. I'm really excited for his 3-year-old campaign. I think he's one that's going to progress on and be a really good 3-year-old. So I'm keen to back Bodyguard. And there's been a little bit of support around him in the corporates. I think he opened that 6,650. He's into around 5,550 already. So I'm keen to play Bodyguard in the Danehill.
Do you read anything into the fact that Bodyguard was $20 in a Golden Slipper, Anisa 60s? Anisa was good, came out one of Percy Sykes after that. Do you read anything into that?
Not really. It's a good point you make. I'm just more siding with Bodyguard off what I've seen from the trials, and he looks like he's come back as a genuine man and a better product. So that's where I'm just backing in. And when you're comparing that to these other ones that are in their first preparations on an upward spiral, I'm picking a side, and that's the side I'm picking.
Yeah.
Yep. Let's move on to race 6 now, which is the listed Paris Lane Stakes. 4-year-olds and upwards over 1,400 metres. Tamer Lane beat Just Folk and Umgawa in last year's edition of the race. And look, boys, it's a tough one. There's probably the most interesting runner on the program, I think, in this race in Royal Champion for the Freedmans. How are you assessing his chances, Tommy? Are you with him or against him?
Yeah, sorry, guys. I did this race and then realised we weren't actually going to cover it on the show. So I spent about 2 hours on this race and then thought I'd better touch on it. Royal Champion, incredibly scary horse. He's won over a mile at his first race start overseas. We see horses like this come here and perform so well. His trial or jump out leading in was out of this world good. He looked real sharp. I think he's a really scary horse, and I'm with him. I can't not watch him go around. He's $5. It's just a bet for me. Off his jump out, he looked fresh enough. He looked sharp enough for the 1,400 metres. Zara on board. Holds a Cox Plate nomination if you don't mind. So if he's anywhere near that level, he's going to be giving this race a mighty shake. The other one at a bit of value, you get a laugh footy, Bon Hawk. I thought he was enormous last start. It was it was a really odd race. They went at a slow tempo and the field had broken up. I think tactics from a few jockeys were wrong there, and a few of these got way too far back. Von Hawk's run 33.68, final 600, fourth fastest 400 of the day. His final 600 was 12.6 lengths better than class average. So he couldn't have done any more there. Second up last campaign, he beat a Manifold as well. So he's a very good horse, and I think he's going to go to another level now. And I want something on him. I'll be backing number 7, Von Hawk, and number 1, Royal Champion.
I found very interesting with Royal Champion, Sam Friedman said on RSN that he wouldn't even mind if Mark Zara sort of pushed the button early and led with Royal Champion. The intent of
that's
that,
enough for me to say that they're there to win too.
That's a lot of intent for a horse first up.
Going to double my bet.
Carrying
responsibly.
Carrying 61 kilos. So I'm a no bet for me. Krebs, how are you looking?
Yeah, it's tricky, isn't it? Royal Champions, he's rated, up into the 120s, which is kind of Group 1 standard in Australia. It's probably a length to 2 lengths off a Cox Plate kind of standard, but it is all over 2,000 metres, those races.
Mm-hmm.
And it is in genuinely run races. So 1,400 metres with the big weight is an obvious query, but hearing that he might go forward would almost make me want to save on him. The horse that I do like is number 5, Aaron Bay. He's a bit of a box ticker here. I thought he ran really well fresh over the track and distance behind Creator, who goes around in the Epsom. 4 from 5 second up, but notably he always improves his rating second up as well, and by a decent amount that he has. So similar story last prep. He ran a similar rating and then really elevated second up to win at this track and distance. It was only a benchmark 84, but he carried a big weight and won it well. So he's going to roll forward, and I think if he makes that improvement that he has done in previous campaigns, he's going to be right in the finish at, he's around that $8.50 mark. I think that's
I've got him clear third too, Trent.
Yep. The Punters Club at Flemington might just be reaching for the Royal Champions of the World come race number 6. It's no bet for me at the moment, but we'll see how that's looking by the second part of the program, boys. Race 7, this is a great edition of the Bart Cummings. It's a Group 3 over 25-20. Kieran Maher, interestingly enough, has won 3 of the past 4 of these with Persan, Grand Promenade, and of course Future History. Sets up again with a couple of key chances in this particular race. Thought the speed map was particularly interesting here in terms of what they do. You've got the likes of Just Fine, Sir Luke, and Dashing Duchess. How are you guys seeing this one unfold? And is this a race that you want to get involved in? Who's getting the ticket through to the big day, or the big Tuesday in November?
Trent, you can start, mate.
Yeah, well, I think there will be a genuine tempo, like Footy said, and I think that also is because of that there is a golden ticket on the line, and a lot of these horses have been set for this race. I think the speed map and the barrier here is key for Berkshire Breeze. He was given a horrendously negative ride last start. Just looking at the sectionals, he ran his race so inefficiently and was finishing all over the top of them late that he should have won that race if he was ridden properly. Now he draws inside, and this has obviously been his target the whole way through because he might need to win this to get into a cup. Draws low, and I think staying down on the minimum here, he is clearly the best rated horse in this race. And I think the stablemate is the Danger St. George. I thought it was just fair last start in that race, won by Positivity, but I think anything that he's doing sub 2,400 metres is just a bonus because of all his best ratings and form overseas were 2,800 metres and looking like he'd eat up 2 miles. So yeah, he's going to have been set to peak for this one as well because he will need to win this to get into a cup. The barrier doesn't make things ideal for him, but they are going to go at a good tempo, and if he can just slot in, find that running line in the straight, I think he's the clear danger. So yeah, I'm tipping Kieran Maher will make it 4 from 5.
Yeah, he's got a pretty nice hand. Are you in the Berkshire Breeze or St. George camp here, Tommy?
Yeah, I think Berkshire Breeze clear the horse debate for me. It's not a race I'm too keen to play on. I've had something on Maharajan.
Well said.
A huge price, close to hundreds. Started 20s in the Sydney Cup, this horse. He had issues, he was lame. I've loved his 2 runs in New Zealand since that. He won a Group 2 Auckland Cup at 3,200 metres. He stays all day. If it's a staying test, he'll be in the mix, and you just don't have to look too far to find another positive in Damien Lane, one of the best staying jockeys in Australia. I just had something on him at a huge price.
I've got a big watch on Damien Lane this weekend.
Not going great.
He's had 2 winners from his last 35 Metropolitan Saturday rides. So he is aptly living up to his nickname of Frosty at the moment on Saturdays. But he is class. He's one of my absolute favourites. And I think this might be a day. He's got a couple of key rides where he gets... Yeah, and it's really, we'll talk about it a little bit more when we get to the Group 1, but he's got the ride on Via Sistina He's ice cold. J-Max striking at 30%. So it's an interesting jockey change. So I'm excited to talk about that as well. Before we do that, though, I'm backing Berkshire Breeze. I reckon it's one of the better bets on the program. Krebs touched on the tactics last start, which was given no chance. I love that he's drawn 2. He'll just be able to squeeze him and sit a little bit closer and hunt runs because he has shown tactical versatility in his career as well.
Yeah, I don't think he will here, but he just gets that slot 4th or 5th off the
I think he's led because he was just the best horse in the race in those, like clearly. So they've just sort of taken luck out of the equation. But I think he's going to get a sweet run here from barrier 2 from Mickey D, and he won't be too far back, and he'll be finishing off very strongly. So I like Berkshire Breeze to hopefully line the pockets by race 7, boys. We'll get something there. Let's turn our attention now to the Group 1 on the card. Race number 8, the Group 1 Turnbull Stakes. Gold Trip obviously won this race last year. Smokin' Romans in 2022, and Incentivise was an impressive winner in 2021. We spoke about Via Sistina being one of the key players here, but there's been a nice little Sydney element thrown in here because we've got Elias, who's been very impressive, hasn't lost over 2,000 metres, hasn't lost in Australia. Buckaroo, well, this horse has, since the ultimate gear change, has turned into a really different prospect. Warmonger's your favourite in Caulfield Cup markets, a tissue race as well here. It's a cracker of a field. Does Plastic Carousel bounce back after a disappointing start last time out with excuses? How you seen it, Krebs?
Yeah, it's a great race, isn't it? I always love the Turnbull. Like you say, it is moving day, and this is the main reason why you want to be running well in this to be any chance in a Cox Plate or a Caulfield Cup or Melbourne Cup. And I also love the set weights and penalties aspect of this race because it just gives some of the horses, not a handicap, but a little bit more of a chance and makes the good ones come to the fore with their weights. And I think the class will come to the fore here. I think the Sistina is the horse to beat, and I think you're getting a good price about her because of that flop last start, which is, you have to take that into account. But I think off the first up run in the Winx, it was a slow tempo. She ran to 121, and basically the sectionals were saying that she was going even better than that. Before going to the Maccabi Diva, where she just bumped into a heavy track, it was hailing by that point and bumped into Pride of Jenny going a million miles an hour. So it was a bit of a shock to the system, I think, for her. Now third up, she bounces out of that, gets to 2,000 metres, and her 2,000 metre ratings are the best in this field. I don't think anyone's probably denying that. It's just whether she can bounce out of it, but I think she can, and you're getting the price to find out.
Where does she settle?
Yeah, it's tricky, isn't it? Because obviously with Waller and Wide Gates, you'd expect her to be going back. But Damien Lane, like you said, he's been a little bit cold. I think he is a very smart jockey at getting these paces over just taking his medicine and going back. He's a real pace over position kind of guy, and I think he won't want to be too far back. He will be wanting to give himself every chance and maybe putting his hand up to try and keep the ride. So yeah, midfield, and if he can slot in with cover, that would be ideal.
Yeah, the Rogerson camp on RSN also said that Sharp and Smart will push forward and drawn outside Via Sistina. That could be a nice little toe in and getting some cover midfield in those stages if you're a Via Sistina-man like Trent and I are. I'm also with her for this one here. Tommy, how are you seeing it, mate? Are you going to have a bet?
Yeah, I think Elias rolls forward from 16. Can lead Ethan Brown on. A good race, great race. And as you said, it's one of my favourite races of the year. I remember when I went to Flemington as a 12-year-old or something, 2002.
Yep.
Sunline beat Universal Prince, who charged home, and that race is stuck in my memory. It was a brilliant race and probably got me into racing. So fantastic race. I'm hoping a few more questions are answered after this than we have going into the race because it's a tricky one. Is Via Sistina back? Is the flop last start? Can she bounce back from that? I'm with Elias here. Little confidence, but 1-9 of 11. I think still underrated. Elias couldn't do any or much more last start. Flying this time in 2,000 metres, ticks that box. Rock hard fit. Shoot forward, barrier 16. Ridden with a tent where a few of these have got bigger fish to fry potentially. He might be back and just running on. So I've got Elias on top. I am with Via Sistina as well, saving or making a small profit on Via Sistina. I think he can bounce back and she can bounce back and run a good race. I don't know what to make of it. Like Warmonger was fantastic in that Maccabi Diva, fastest final 400 metres of that race. Are we just forgiving or forgetting about Warmonger, or are we just backing the fact that Via Sistina was favourite there and can bounce back? I mean, yeah.
I feel the direction, and I know you go out to ride your mount to win every race, but I truly feel the direction with a horse like Warmonger is ride cold, finish hard, hit the line strong, because there's Group 1s and there's Group 1s, and we're talking Major Cups player with Warmonger, and I feel that the Caulfield Cup has just been the target the entire time with this horse. And that's not to say he can't come out and win, because he's clearly a very, very talented horse, and you don't continually pile in these races, the Major Cup races, from a betting perspective, if you're not. And he looks the one that's going to be very hard to beat in a couple of weeks' time at Caulfield. So it's a good point that you make.
Yeah, like was the Queensland Derby an aberration? It's a huge spike in performance. He came out and won that by 10 lengths. You don't see that very often. It's not as if he went around $2 there. He got beaten in a Chairman's at 2000, Group 3 at Morpheville, 2 starts prior to that. Couldn't beat Coco Sun in the Derby, and then comes out and does that by 10 lengths. I was going to lean to saying that was an aberration until I saw his first up run where he slashed home and proved that he's a serious horse. So, yeah, he's fascinating.
I think there are a couple of questionable rides, particularly in Adelaide, with Warmonger. So
got a long way back.
You got to dive in a little bit more than what the race book says with him. I think,
but still, it's a big turnaround to win by 10 lengths, and we know the track was pretty tired there late, and a few horses probably just didn't go.
He's a proper Group 1 operator.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards that theory as well. Buckaroo is the other one, which you haven't really talked about, and Place to Carousel through the Underwood as well was heavily back favourite in that. The money just kept coming for Place to Carousel. Was playing there. We're forgiving Place to Carousel, and Buckaroo won like a serious horse as well. We haven't talked about that, Trent.
Yeah, it was interesting, that market support for Place to Carousel. I thought that was very telling. The market had her going to a huge number here. If she ran to that level that the market had her going to last start, she'd be the horse to beat in this race. Like the market just absolutely smashed her.
So do you respect that?
I do. I really do. Yeah. Especially with a horse first up like that.
I think she's the one over the odds.
I think so as well. Yeah. I was surprised that she was $16, $17 considering the SP that she had in the Underwood. Yeah, she was disappointing. She pulled up with a couple of issues. I think she had a bit of a respiratory noise or something, something along those lines. Yep. So again, her 2,000 metre ratings of form overseas were really strong.
The length off there sustained her.
In a Randwick, and even her form overseas, she was running to ratings that would be right in the finish, if not close to winning this. So she also gets 2 kilos off them. It's not a huge deal, but it's not a bad thing, and she draws well. I think she can settle a little bit closer as well.
Yeah, she had some lacerations behind, and also had some respiratory issues. So tongue control bit going on first time. So if they put that together. I think you've got to be forgiving. Yep. My Betfair account says otherwise. However, I think we have to be forgiving. She's definitely the one over the odds. And I just want to make the point on Elias as well. 7 from 7 at 2,000 metres with European form. You don't see that often, do you, coming here? So pretty impressive. Good chat as far as the Group 1 goes, fellas. Let's get moving on, though, to race number 9, which is the Group 2 Gilgai Stakes. Set weights and penalties, 1,200 metres. Star Patrol won the race last year for Clinton McDonald. Private Eye won in 2022. And Kementari, the Special K, in 2021. This is as competitive a race as you will see on the program, Trent.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's a good race, isn't it? There's a lot of kind of horses coming through similar form lines, and then you've got a few horses that are first up coming here as well. And I think you and I are both keen on the same one.
Doesn't matter if it's an Everest, you'd be keen on.
The Sharippa.
You like this. Saying off air.
I filled it out for him anyway. Before I saw Sharippa in the race.
Yeah.
Just filled out the spreadsheet for Footy saying he'd be.
Footy was saying off air that Sharippa's paid for his renovations and his mansion and everything. Yeah. So he must have had a few.
They call it the Sharippa end of the residence. That's what it's referred to. Yeah, it is.
Have you had to rip up and sell the bricks after the last 5 starts?
No, well, another one of my favourite mares goes around here to in Right to Party, which we might be aptly doing at the end. But yes, Sharippa, I feel looks very well placed here, Trent. I mean, proven straight track performer, went to a new level at the back end of the spring and in the summer. Enormous in the Oakley Plate after blowing the start. I think he's better suited up on the speed, which we've seen him do in these straight races. Was very good first up in the Wiley handicap, beaten by Pressdown, who was also lobs here, but gets a 5 kilo weight.
Do you think he was very good?
Pressdown was good. Come out actually.
I thought he was good. I thought very good's a bit of a overstatement.
Pressdown's good horse.
No, I thought Scripper was going. I wanted to see Scripper strong on the line the last 20 metres. Okay. I thought he was just levelled out there, and I know straight 1,200 metres take a lot of benefit from that, but I just wanted to see him run through the line a little bit.
But you're an anti-Sharippa operator. You could get 51s about Sharippa in this race and you wouldn't back him.
Doesn't matter if they don't win.
Here he is. I'm talking like he's a loser. He's an absolute winning machine. And also back and right to party. Thought she was solid enough in the
So you're sticking with your two faves.
My two faves. Back.
Fair
She was
enough.
good in the Bobby Lewis. So I don't feel like she wants to be back on top of the ground. It's drawn grandstand side. That's in a competitive race like this, I want to take a runner that's drawn one side of the track and also a runner that's drawn the grandstand side of the track, which I'm getting with this particular setup here. I've also got a lay, but I'll let you go through how you're assessing the race, Tommy.
Who's your lay? Come on.
Magic Time.
Oh,
which is
Barrier one?
Barrier one, Magic Time.
Glue on shoes?
Glue on shoes. Reese says there's absolutely nothing wrong with glue on shoes.
No, he's a big fan.
Trainers like saying that, though.
No, he's articulated that really well. He always sees stuff like that as positive.
He says it's just identifying that we know that they have an issue, basically. Yeah,
it's probably it might take him to another level, which I see the point.
I actually think she's a fantastic mare, Magic Time. I'm going
sound like it,
I'm going to be looking for her towards the back end of the spring. I think the Sir Rupert Clark's going to be her race. So first up, she's a proven first up performer, but down the straight 1200, I'm going to be waiting for her a little bit later. And just the Barrier one is a bit of an off. That's bit of a negative for me as well.
Don't like laying horses that are the best horse in the race, and I think she
is the best horse in the race.
Yeah, followed by Chain of Lightning. I think they're the two, and they're two highest handicap runners. I disagree with you, Footy, on Magic Time. I think she's a chance. Tough race for me. I'm Unstoppable trialled quite well. What are
you doing with him? New stable, Kieran Maher.
I'm watching the market closely.
He's as good as a D-Day horse I've seen this weekend. I Am Unstoppable. I don't know if he's here with the new stable, but it's an interesting runner.
Getting Betfair live up, getting bet and watching what happens, because if this stable come for it, it'll be running well.
He's got outstanding form, really. He's disappointed relative to his price a couple of times.
Should have won the Danehill.
Yeah, so he's second
year.
in a Coolmore here last year to Osmosis, second Stretton Angel in a Danehill. I'm not sure.
It says
that's
Group
a good
1,
shout.
Group 2, but it was a really...
He split Shinzo.
Exactly. Like Shinzo Osmosis. They were off the stud before being tested against any good horses because they knew they weren't much good.
Even Stretton Angel's been a little bit plain since.
Yeah. I'm very suspect on that.
But I'm watching the market. I agree.
But like you said, he's now with Maher and trial well, and it could be a completely different horse, but I couldn't be backing him at the odds that he is.
Yeah, I think Chain of Lightning can run well. I think Magic Time can run well. Not a race I'm too keen to dive into, to be honest.
So Sharifah for you and I, a bit of right to party in there as well, and laying Magic Time. Well, I'm getting out putting all the cards out on the table there, Tommy. Time for what caught my eye, Tommy, this weekend.
Yes.
In the run sheet, it's got Tom Haylock.
Well, I quite catch a lot of people's eye, especially at the function on Tuesday night. No, Saturday I was at the Footy. Thankfully, I got a ticket to the Footy and
behind the glass, no doubt.
Yep. Behind the glass or on the grass here at Layback, and you were on the grass. That's what caught my eye. Well done, Footy. You're running around, didn't pay many decisions, doing the right thing, and you did a great performance. So well done, mate. It was good.
Thanks very much.
You had a lot of head wobble. How was the week?
It was a great week. It's kind of like I can liken it to spring racing. It's a war of attrition. It's getting to the finish line. So are you going to
make it through spring now after that?
It's tough. I'm certainly might have had an end of prepper on the Saturday night and Sunday, but no, it was a fantastic week. Like everything that comes with it too. It's people probably don't understand the umpiring side of as much, but as good as a 20-year apprenticeship as you're ever likely to see for someone whose dream it's been for a long time. So it was really cool to live it out. I was very nervous Saturday morning, which I'm not usually a nervy kind of guy. But once we got out there, it was great. Just wanted the game to start. But it was a bit of an umpire's dream, to be honest, the result. It wasn't for the 100,000 there and the millions watching, but to have a 10-goal margin, it was sort of, we were able to just wander around and soak it all in, and it was a nice day. So very enjoyable, mate.
Congrats, mate.
Cheers, mate. Let's move on to Randwick now. Let's talk about.
I could talk about you umpiring all day.
Well, there's 3 grand finals at Randwick that we got to get through first because it's a belter of a card up there. Of course, the 3 Group 1s. We've got the Group 1 flight stakes for the 3-year-old fillies. We've got the Metrop, and we've also got the Epsom, and this looks a tough card for betting. What about track conditions? Tommy, you're the track expert and weather expert in Sydney. I'm sure you're identifying some scratchings already.
Rail out 3, track will be fine, I think. There's a few showers around, but depends a little bit. I think we'll be okay there. So I think the track plays pretty well with the 3-metre position. Mm-hmm. You can blend into the race, and every horse hopefully can get its chance.
Let's kick off with the Group 1 flight stakes for the fillies, 1,600 metres. Tropical Squall won the race last year, Zugotcha in 22 and Never Been Kissed in 2021. This looks as hard a favourite to beat as you're likely to see. It's really hard to poke. Off? I think she's scared a few off. It's hard to poke. And we speak of Autumn Glow, Chris Waller, James McDonald, $1.50 corporates. Very hard to poke any holes in her, Trent, at around $1.50 even as well.
Yeah, it is. And I think if you were going to poke holes in her, it was going to be her last start or even the one before, because off her debut run, everything that she's done since is that she wants 1,600 metres, 2,000, if not further. And I thought if she was going to be beaten this prep, it was going to be last start. James McDonald went forward from the wide draw and made a good thing of it. And now she's drawn low. If she's ridden on speed again, she's just got too much staying power and too much class for them. So the price reflects that. She's $1.50 or thereabouts. You know, you're not going to be getting involved, I don't think, at those odds. But yeah, she's the A grader and the rest are Bs, I think.
And obviously Declici Boulevard's there, who will likely come out and race in Melbourne, you would think, as Tom, one of those dodges that you sort of prefaced at the top.
I hope Declici runs in Melbourne so I can lay her. Yeah, who runs second? That's the question. Is it Snow and May, who was fantastic? Autumn Glow, I actually wanted to be against Autumn Glow here at the price. I saw the price and went looking for others, but you just kept coming back to her.
I think Snow and May is a clear second pick.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you.
They clocked off the fastest last 200 of the day last start.
400 and 200 of the meeting.
Yeah,
incredible.
I took 9s and 3s, just futures, like a 1x3 futures.
$3
because you get a third of obviously the winning. So I took $3 to place Snow in May after that run, because you can't really take a set against Autumn Glow. She's just the best horse in the race, particularly off her body of work. But I think Snow in May is a clear second pick.
Yeah, that run last, I know she was undefeated prior to that, but that was an enormous run. She surprised me there. And she's second pick. We do have exotics on Betfair as well, Footy, so you can jump on the Quinella exacta markets there on Betfair and hopefully get a price, or you cash back second. You could back Snow in May, cash back second market if we've got it, but we do have those on selected markets and races across the day on Betfair.
You could have much worse bets than that across the course of the day, I reckon, in the cashback second markets. It sounds like we're all shouldering arms, though, around $1.50 for Autumn Glow.
It's a shame.
Yeah.
The rest of the card doesn't get any easier.
Yeah, well, race 7 is the Group 2 Premier Stakes, weight for age 1,200 metres. Think About It is looking to go back-to-back. Lost and Running was obviously the winner in 2022, and Masked Crusader in 2021. This is a very nice competitive race at the top of the market. Bella Nipotina, she's flying. She loves racing. Giga Kick, you'd love to see him elevate and really stamp his Everest credentials. And Think About It is around that third line of betting that, back as a sprinter this campaign after an interesting autumn
Yeah,
cruise.
he butchered it last prep.
Yeah, I didn't mind the prep, to be honest with him last night. I thought he kind of got pigeonholed into being a sprinter because he won the Everest, and then I didn't mind that they got him out over further. He was okay in a couple of them, and then it kind of just the wheels fell off. So I can understand them reverting back to sprinting with the Everest coming up and trying to get a slot. But yeah, in this race, I thought clearly that the horse to beat for mine was Bella Nipotina. I thought she was fantastic first up behind I Am Me. She reeled off some huge splits. She was 32 home or something for her last 600. It was absolutely electric. Track was playing very fast, but even still, 1,000 metres probably not her go. Up to 1,200 metres here, I think Giga Kick's got the job ahead to turn the tables. I thought he was just fair in that run behind her. I thought Bella dropped him in the run. He's had a nice trial since, and I think the market has taken that too much into account. I'm surprised that he is open favourite over her based on what they did first up.
Tommy, are you going to be having a bet in this race?
I agree with Trent. The market opened a strange price differential between Giga Kick and Bella Nipotina. I think they're both firm and they're probably level price. I hate these races because are they trying with Bella? She's got a slot. Is it a glorified barrier trial? That said, she rarely runs poorly. The $3 on offer was probably value, and Giga Kick needs to prove himself because he hasn't got a slot. So the other thing is Giga Kick probably goes back to last, potentially.
I think it could be last the fence.
Yeah. And Bella doesn't draw that well either. Not a race I'm too keen on. I'm leaning slightly Giga Kick, especially if he starts longer than Bella. But yeah, no confidence at all.
I'm leaning Think About It. I love him back as a sprinter. This is his bread and butter.
Where does he get to from 8?
Yeah, well, he's back and wide, but he's out of trouble.
Is he back and wide? Because he doesn't have a slot yet, and they'll be wanting to get one. So
they go
this is
forward,
kind of
really?
D-Day for them. They
Yeah.
might he might be ready to go.
Prominent
And-
middle early stages. You
But if
reckon?
he settles 3 deep and runs home well for second, he still might get a slot. I don't know.
Potentially.
You don't know what's happening behind the scenes.
Yeah, I've been on record with this too. I was always against the George Ryder into a Doncaster. I don't understand that when
He's
you've
won
got
11 of 12 before that, hadn't he? And
When you-
suddenly he goes out and trip and loses 5 in a row.
you've got the best sprinter in Australia because the Everest is the best sprinting race. You've got the best sprinter in Australia,
The world, potentially.
in your stable.
Shouldn't have won that, though.
And you're pushing him out to a mile in a handicap with more weight than he carried the previous year. I just thought it was an interesting setup. So I like that he's back here off 2 nice trials, very similar lead into obviously last year. He won this race of 2 solid trials. I'm expecting the same sort of showing again. And there's more meat in price too. Like he's $4.20 corporates comparatively to that 250, 270 that you're getting around Giga Kick and Bella Nipotina. So I think about it as a bet. I'll be backing him. You're having a bet and a lay here.
Yeah, going
Hamburger.
the hamburger.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's pretty simple with races like these with a small field where you've got 2 horses, similar prices, and you're keen on one, you can back one and lay the other. So, yeah, I've backed Bella Nipotina already, and I think she should be a clear favourite in this race. You can her consistency is one thing, but she also runs a consistently high level over and over and over. I don't think she's going to put in a fall on because her last 6 starts she's run to pretty much something within a length of her best. Whereas Giga Kick has a much wider variance. I know he's got those big peaks, but I think those big peaks are only about half a length better than what Bella's been doing. And I think off that first up run, he's really got the task ahead to turn the table. So, yeah, pretty keen on Bella Nipotina. Might be a clear favourite, and Giga Kick, if he stays favourite, I'll be laying him as well.
Who wins the Everest?
Terrific question, without notice as well. I haven't really poured over the market as yet, so I'm not quite sure. It's all price sensitive. Who have you got as your seed, Tommy?
3-year-old Stormboy can run a good race. Now they're going there. Be surprised. You don't like
I
him?
wish they went to the Guineas. He's a miler. They're pigeonholing him.
I think he's a sprinter, but if he draws inside and steps slow, it's game over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the other 3-year-old
It's-
Growing Empire is the one that's on the up. He's, the Manifold run was excellent. He ran out at a good tempo and just got caught late.
Has he
But
got a slot? Growing Empire?
he doesn't, but Yulong have got a slot, and
Oh, yeah.
who else are they going to pick at this
Yeah.
point? So I'd be surprised if he's not there on the day.
It
I
feels-
think he can measure up.
It feels a 3-year-old year. I wouldn't write off Lady of Camelot. I think she's around that $26 quote as well, and she's got a slot, and you know where she's going to be, and she's got all the right manners. But
How's
again,
I Wish I Win going? That's the question.
I
Obviously won the Kingsford Smith, beat Bella last time, think about it in the Kingsford Smith.
I thought he had every right to close off stronger on Friday night in the Manicato. I thought it was a touch underwhelming in the Manicato, and I was with him, so it's not just pocket talking as well, but I did think he was a touch underwhelming.
I was worried when they came out pre-race and said they just hope for him to run on.
Yeah, they do have their blinkers up their sleeve with him as well. I don't know if that's a throw at the stumps or if that's but that's what the camp's.
He's another one that I think. Similar to think about it. He's been pigeonholed as a sprinter as well off that TJ win because he got a heavy track. They went at a crazy tempo and he just outstayed them. And now he's just a get back run on sprinter where coming over here, he was going to be aimed up at a Cox Plate originally. I wish they'd go back to a mile with him, but I think he's shown too much talent as a sprinter for them to not go that way.
Krebs wants to send everyone to a Jericho at the moment.
I know.
He's like, stop sprinting Stormboy. Go to a Jericho.
We don't want these swibby types. Come on, get some strength behind you.
Steffi Magnetica's my
She's flying.
She is flying.
She's
She's
flying. Yeah, it'll be good. I'll dig in and have a little bit more of a look at that.
Yeah,
we might go again next week on that one, Tommy. We'll touch base.
Sound like we're on Sky Channel.
Speaking of easy races, let's look at race 8. It's the Group 1 Metropolitan Handicap over 2,400 metres. Just fine on the race last year. No compromise in 2022 and Montefilia in 2021. Interesting market when originally the third emergency comes up your favourite, which is Unusual Legacy for Chris Waller. Wiremu pin riding without the claim. Very open race. It feels like it's going to be a blowout in the quaddie wherever we look here, boys. I love Tommy's notes on the run sheet. Absolutely no idea.
No, I'm with Cleveland. I'm not.
I was going to run with that, actually. For those, if you don't know Krebs, he backs Cleveland every start. Does he?
It's all right. Paid for my patio.
Yeah. I think he's
paid for my Renos when he won the.
I think he's too short. He's a bit too short here at 151s.
Yeah, lame at that price. Yeah. No, I've got absolutely no clue, and I might not even watch the race.
There's
That's a lie. I'll
nothing to
bet, mate.
learn. Yeah, you're having 5 bets and at least 3 lays.
And I'll message the group saying, why on earth did I do that?
You message the bang emoji just through, regardless. Krebs, give us some insight to the
Please,
Metro.
help me out here, Trent.
It's so tough, isn't it? Like a lot of those horses coming through the Kingston town is probably the premier leader, but that race was very strange. They almost split in two halfway through the race, and those horses on speed like
That was weird, wasn't it?
It was very weird.
But all the back markers were long odds by the same token.
Yeah.
If you go through and have a look at where the finishing order and where they meet here, all the favourites are up in the first bunch. And
and I think the one that was in the first bunch was Zardozi, and I thought, given that, I thought she was a little bit plain. I think she looked better than what she was because she beat a lot of those horses home, but some of those horses were a mile back and actually running homes in some pretty good splits considering where they were. They were ridden awfully, but yeah, I'm not sure how well she's going. Up to 2,400 metres, I guess, suits, but yeah, I'm just not convinced that she's come back all that well.
It's funny because she was very good first up, and then she puts in the Chelmsford was just hers to win.
The Winx was a strange race though, because again they went very slowly, and a lot of those horses were made to look a lot better than what they were. These slowly run races where they're sprinting home and it's not a test. Okay, she's 2.5 lengths or 2 lengths off Via Sistina, but if that was a truly run race, she might have been 4 or 5 lengths off her. So you just got to take some of those things into account. She's not going badly. I'm just not sure how well she's going. I thought the one out of the Kingston town that could be the improver was Land Legend. 2 runs back now. The first up run was just a poke around. Better last start, and the rating that he ran in the St. Ledger first up in Australia, 2,600 metres at Randwick, was a really strong beat. Your boy Cleveland there comfortably. It would have
Don't talk ill.
Okay. But if he runs to that with the 51 kilos, that's got him, rating probably somewhere near the top here. So I think he's probably the horse that I'd mark favourite. But yeah, that being said, it's almost too tough to have a bet in.
They're aiming for the Cups with Land Legend.
Yeah.
Does he need to win this?
I'm not sure actually, to be honest. He probably needs a bit of attrition here, but yeah, this looks the right race for him down in the weights, and yeah, I think he'll be a big improver out of that Kingston town.
Just one comment. I will be having $5 or $10 on Trust in You at 400 to 1. Ran second fastest late sectionals last start. I had no chance there.
Yeah, I was actually going to throw him up. I said 150s, 200s, and like you said, Betfair will be paying closer to 500s on that. Yeah, he was one of those horses in the Kingston town that was settled last, and his late splits were actually really good. He's a genuine 2-miler. Whether he probably doesn't have enough class to win this, but it's one of those races.
Yeah, I'm going to have something small on Cur Tempesta here. I think he's going good. I've been with him this campaign. Heavily Stakes, he finished off strongly after finding some interference. He ran on well again in the naturalism, got the head up a little bit. I noticed they're putting the nose roll on this time to maybe just correct some of those manners. The step up to 2,400 metres is a huge tick. Down in the weights relative to his last start where he carried 59. I'm already invested in him in the Caulfield Cup. He's got 53 kilos in the Caulfield Cup. He's it's at 34s at the moment. So I think he's a little bit of a smoky for the Caulfield Cup, and he's in the field. He's 19 on order of entry. So Cur Tempesta is just going to be a little each way play for me in a very, very open Metrop, boys. Let's take a look at the last Group 1 now, which is race 9. It's the Group 1 Epsom Handicap, 1,600 metres. Radina won this race last year, and the year prior it was a dead heat with Ellsberg and Top Ranked. I'm not sure Tom was probably had them both as a back play that year.
I was heavily in the Ellsberg camp.
Yeah, so was I actually. Yeah. It was a bit sickening. And from memory was around $2 too, half payout, was it? Was it sort of money back Ellsberg from memory? So hey, the thing that stands out to me, I don't have a firm opinion in the Epsom, but some of the key chances here are drawn very sticky and out wide, and it's a very tough map. The map's obviously the first thing that we go to, and I found it a very tough one to sort of dissect, boys.
It's all about the Alan Brown next week, isn't it?
Yeah, this is a nice horses on the back up from the Epsom to the Alan Brown. They go very well.
I think that's a key form reference. Yeah. Krebs, what are you doing with the Epsom, mate?
The barriers have an effect. I'm
not a barrier man. I don't really care about barriers.
It's about 1,600 metres at Randwick. It's not an issue.
It's the fairest start in Australia.
But you hear James Cummings with Tom Kitten come on radio this morning and say they're still tossing up whether to run or not from out there.
Yeah, well, the market's not saying that because he's been well backed now. He's with corporates. He's into single figures.
Our money, hopefully.
Yeah, well, I might have missed the boat there. We'll have to wait for him to get out a bit when the percentages come down with Betfair. But I've got him on top, old Tommy. Really liked the run first up. Smashed Amor Victorious there obviously Amel Victorious came out and won last week. Bit of redemption for myself. And he was a little bit disappointing last start in the Bill Ritchie Tom Kitten, but that was a strange race. He drew wide that time. They kind of went to go forward. He got caught wide, dragged back. It wasn't one of McDonald's finest, to be honest. And then he kind of tried to loop them again, whereas all the trifecta came up the fence, and that was probably the place to be on the day. So up to a mile now, third up. This has been the target for him the whole way through. I think he is one of the horses to beat. I don't think there's much between him and Chael Wolf on the ratings that they've been running, and that's evident as well. Chael Wolf beat Amel Victorious a couple starts back by a similar margin. So they're the two that I'm kind of leaning to, and the other one that I thought at a bigger price that could run well is Kintyre. Also comes through the Bill Ritchie there. Again, he was wide on speeds. I'm not taking away too much that he was wide. I'm not too fussed about that, but I thought his first up run in the tramway was really good behind Royal Patronage. He meets that horse 8 kilos better at the weights for a 2.5 length margin there, and he draws well up to 1,600 metres. He's around that $26 quote, and I think he will run a big race.
What do we make of Royal Patronage? I thought the win in the tramway was very good. I sort of marked that as going to be a key reference moving forward, which we haven't seen too many out of that race yet. Obviously, Amelia's Jewel was second. Kovalika was third.
I wanted to see more from Amelia's Jewel.
Yeah. What do you make, Tommy, of Royal Patronage?
Yeah, well, had no chance last start. Really. Probably wins that race if jumps, in my opinion. I know Fango, everyone's driving a bit. If he jumps and leads, it's the way the track was playing, it could have been very hard to run down. So, I've got him right in the mix. Barrier 17, I don't mind. Timmy, you just roll forward and needs to jump better than last start, but roll forward and hopefully control, settle outside lead or take it up. He's got to be a major player.
One for both of you. Who's the best horse in the race?
That's a good question.
That's a great question. Royal Patronage could be. Tom Kitten could be, but there's nothing that stamps I'm the best horse in the race at the moment. It probably says the weights.
Probably why it's reflected in the betting as well.
56.5 top weight.
Yeah.
And my Oberon with 110 handicap.
My Oberon probably, he doesn't win, but he's probably got the form of the horse. He probably is the best horse in the race, but then he's carrying 56.5 for a horse that hasn't won in forever. So
good question. J-Mac rides Kovalika. That's just due to weights. Jumps off Seawolf. Seawolf was fantastic against Elias last start. I'm giving Elias a chance in a Turnbull. So Elias is $5 in a Turnbull. Seawolf was just as good. Drops 1 kilo off that run and now goes around in an Epsom at a similar price or more. You could make a case for Seawolf back in distance. I don't mind that setup. I'm with Tom Kitten as well. Just loved the first up win. Loved the trials prior, returning as a gelding. Don't mind the barrier. Can blend into the race from out there. Will be charging late. Might have just been a barrier trial last start. As you said, wasn't J-Mac's best ride. Loses J-Mac with the 54 kilos, but bury on. I've got Tom Kitten on top, but now probably short enough at that price. So I wanted to jump into that $16. I thought it was a silly price. So can make a case for plenty. My numbers are Tom Kitten on top from Royal Patronage, Kovalika and Seawolf in the mix there.
Love your stuff. Good dissection, boys. Sydney. That's a tough card.
One of the most.
Yeah,
toughest.
If we can get out of Sydney for free, that'd be pretty nice, I reckon. Hey, let's go to our lay streak now, which looks like it's just flying. Trent, you're still on $100. You go back to 100 after gutsy and taking on broadsiding, and geez, you're getting gutsy again this week because you're taking on one of the great sprinters.
Yeah, well, that was the market support for broadsiding. I knew I was done a half an hour out when he was starting.
$2
on it was. You just had to copy medicine there. That was
But
they knew and I didn't.
You reprice the race. It's not $2.
I still couldn't get it that short.
Yeah.
I'm not that disappointed in the lay that I had at the price. I still couldn't get in that short.
And everyone will say they got that right, but I don't think they did.
Yeah.
It went around to $2.
Someone very smart got that right. The 99% of people that say they are, they got lucky.
They did. I think they would even reprice the race and have it $2.50, $2.60, not $2.
So who are we going with this week? Who's our lay streak bet?
Yeah, it's going to be Giga Kick in the Premier Stakes. I just think that he's too short given what Bella Nipotina did to him first up. I loved her return over 1,000 metres, and I think Giga Kick really has the task ahead to turn the tables. Like I said, he's got that peak that's slightly better than her, but I think her consistency, you plug that in and kind of, take her last 5 runs at random, and I think that they win that more often than not.
Yep.
Where Giga Kick would have to run to something like his best, and I'm just not sure whether he's going to here. So it's kind of a true bet play for me. Best bet Bella Nipotina and best lay Giga Kick.
Tommy, you've got $148 in your Lay Street kitty.
Just chipping away.
What are you doing with it?
Yeah, I find horses that change states sometimes grow a leg first up in the new state, and then they regress off that. And I think Taclishi Boulevard's one of those. Changed states, had that, was energised from the trip away and ran really well, but I don't love the form before that. So I think she's under the odds, race 4, number 4, Taclishi Boulevard.
Yep, I'm later in the day at Flemington in the Gilgai. I'm going to be laying Magic Time to Win. Barrier 1, any rain throughout the day will be in the inferior going, and I want to look for her later in the spring in the Sir Rupert Clarke. So I've got $304.81, boys. That's what a leader looks like in the lay streak, just to let you know. Best backs across the weekend. Tommy, you'll no doubt have 400 bets. And actually, before I get to your best bats, I want to ask you, there's some we're getting a look at the 2-year-olds as well this weekend. And we've got the Maribyrnong trial at Flemington. Is there anything in those races that you like?
Yeah, haven't done the Maribyrnong trial. It looks, on first glance, it doesn't look anywhere near as good as the Breeders and the Gimcrack at Randwick, which are great races. Waterhouse won the race last year, the Breeders, and I think they'll do it again. They got 5 of the 10. Espionage won it for them last year. I've got North England on top, drawn really well, front runner, really professional, 280,000 English Classic horse by Farnan, believe it or not. So makes you feel a bit old. Yeah, just professional. There's a few that are drawn wide and get back markers. King Kirk and Tuscany, the stablemates. Tuscany's a $1.55 million colt. Waterhouse had a horse that trialled against Tuscany that runs in the Maribyrnong Plate, which is of interest as well. So Waterhouse is splitting them, bringing that horse to Melbourne. I've forgotten its name now, but that'll be hard to beat in the Maribyrnong Plate. So race 2, the Breeders, I've got North England on top from a couple of stablemates. In the fillies, the Gimcrack, I found it very hard. I think Memo might be the smartest horse, but it's drawn the car park. Bell Mercy's the one that draws well and gets a nice run in transit there. In those 2 races, I'll keep talking, mate. One of my best bets. We haven't touched on Moonee Valley Friday night, but race 6, number 8, Crossing Over. XWA horse now with Cliff Brown. Drawn a little tricky out wide. Absolute speedster over the 955. This horse jumped out and won a trial at Caulfield in exceptional fashion. So go and have a look at that. She's incredibly quick, and I think she can cross and lead and be a great each-way play. Race 6, number 8 there at Moonee.
Going back to the 555, I saw you were not too happy with the Frilled last week at Moonee Valley in the 955.
Oh, that was sickening, wasn't it? Thrilled.
Sure, a bit of a blow up on course.
Another dominant trial.
Yeah,
that's
pretty
trial.
normal.
Yeah.
Barrels around, blaming others except him.
Yep.
She was unlucky.
Real Haylock behaviour, that.
So,
Where are any other best backs?
Oh, don't let me finish. No, keep going. You go.
Well, I think I'm siding with you here. The other one is at Flemington in the Bart Cummings Berkshire Breeze. I think he's clearly the horse to beat, given no hope last start. Gets the golden switch inside. He'll be primed for this Kieran Marr.
It's a good call. Did you have anything else you wanted to add, Tom, before I round out my best backs?
No, I just wanted to make a point. I like Kilcare Beach Girl in the Evan Manifold, hoping for the hamburger. Roll forward and a lovely. I can't see her missing a place.
I think we can get our money really early at Flemington. Race 1, Moby Dick, reckon better than a 78 horse. We'll build a bank nice and early. Just as a roughie, race 3, Feminile for Philip Stokes. I think we'll be running on from the back from an each way. Prospect will be out looking for further on an Oaks path. And then we're going to close out the day, race 10, Revolutionary Miss, now in the Kieran Marr stable. And I think she's going really well out to 1400 on a track where she has won before. So just some other little bets in there. It's a smorgasbord of racing across the weekend, boys. I can't wait to get out on course for the first time and get involved this spring. All the best across the course of the weekend. It's been great having you back, Krebs. I'm backing you in to have a huge week this week.
Thanks,
we'll clip up more than broadsiding. I'll tell the digital boys out back. It'll be good. Tommy, what do you got planned?
I'll be on track.
Yep.
See you there.
Glass or grass?
Just floating around, mate.
Of course he is.
No corporate hospitality. Just a day out, which would be good.
Well, love your work. It's been a lot of fun here on Layback with Betfair today. We'll be back next week on the show. Have a good weekend and gamble responsibly.
Chances are you're about to lose. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.